بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفاه وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد قال الله تبارك وتعالى من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فلنحيينه حياة طيبة ولنجزينهم أجرهم بأحسن ما كانوا يعملون وقال تعالى ولنذيقنهم من العذاب الأدنى دون العذاب الأكبر لعلهم يرجعون صدق الله العظيم. Recite درود شريف. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم يا رب صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. أما بعد, ulama kiram, respected brothers and sisters and all who are listening, we find that this dunya is such that we only look at the short-term benefit or short-term harm or short-term loss. Very few there are who look at the long-term benefit or long-term loss of anything. We find that when it comes to the matters of our Deen, that same mentality also prevails. That because we can't perceive the long-term reward in the Akhirah, the long-term punishment in the Akhirah, so therefore these things don't have the impact on us, and therefore we find people are weak in practicing their Deen. But if we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept not only long-term consequences of our deeds in the Akhirah, but there are also immediate or short-term consequences of our deeds in this world also. Many a people on that, they are encouraged towards good deeds and they are discouraged from performing bad deeds. We talk about sawab in the akhirat, you talk about azab in the akhirat, it feels like very far and distant. You tell somebody you read this, you'll get so much sawab. Or you commit this sin, you'll get that much of azab. So because the akhirah is so far away, yet it is not far. But for us, it seems like very far away. So we tend not to consider those things. But if you have to be told about the short-term immediate reward or immediate punishment, then that has a bigger impact on the heart of many people. As far as worldly things are concerned, if we know the immediate effect of something, the benefit of it, we immediately ready to do it. We know the immediate harm of something, we will be very afraid to do it. So like this, even in our Deen, there are immediate consequences of whatever we do, good or bad. Good deeds, righteous deeds, and evil deeds also have the consequences. And that is mentioned in the Qur'an. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes mention of it in the Qur'an Sharif. Ayats I read, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Qur'an that man amila salihan min dhakarin aw untha wa huwa mu'min falanuhyiyannahu hayatan tayyibah. Those who do good deeds, male or female, condition is they got iman, we will give them a very, very enjoyable life in this world. وَلَنَجْزِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْرَهُمْ بِأَحْسَنِ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. That's akhirat. In this world, Hayaatan Tayyibah. Hayaatan Tayyibah. Ulama kiram know what is the meaning of the word Hayaatan Tayyibah. It means a beautiful, enjoyable life in this world. A pleasant existence in this world. That is Hayaatan Tayyibah. And on the other hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentioned the consequences of bad deeds. Not only in the akhirah, but in this world. وَلَنُذِيقَنَّهُمْ مِنَ الْعَذَابِ الْأَدْنَى دُونَ الْعَذَابِ الْأَكْبَرِ. We will definitely make them taste the small punishment before the big punishment. So Allah Ta'ala talks about what is a small punishment before the big punishment. The small punishment is of this dunya. The consequences of bad deeds in this dunya, there is punishment. It's small in comparison to akhirah, but it is a form of punishment and azab. So by mentioning that there will be short-term consequences and results of our good deeds as well as our bad deeds in this world, many people hearing that, it becomes a deterrent from bad deeds. It becomes an encouragement for good deeds. That is why our elders, our pious elders, Hazrat Hakim al-Ummat wrote a whole book on the subject called Jaza'ul A'mal. Jaza'ul A'mal. The recompensation of deeds. And there he mentioned what is the recompensation of good deeds in this world and what is the recompensation of bad deeds in this world. Hazrat mentioned all these things about the worldly life. What are the consequences of bad deeds in this world? What and what will happen to a person? How his life will become miserable in this world. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Holy Qur'an, فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. That is, life of this world will be ma'ishatan dhanka. He will have a very, very tough life. I put it across in lay terms, easy words. You can say straitened circumstances if you want to use a little bit of more technical or high terms. Straitened circumstances. But in lay terms, he'll have a tough life in this world. Ma'ishatan dhanka. Ulama know the meaning of this word also. That's the kind of life he's going to have in this world. وَنَعْشُرُهُ Hashar, what will happen to him on Qiyamah, that's separate, the azab. So one side is Hayaatan Tayyibah. And Allah Ta'ala is contrasting that with Ma'ishatan Dankaa. Two opposites. Hayaatan Tayyibah, for those who do righteous deeds in this world, is Hayaatan Tayyibah. For those who do evil and wicked deeds in this world, there is Ma'ishatan Dankaa. And then the consequences in Akhirat is there. That's why Hazrat Hakim al-Ummat wrote this book on this subject. To alert the Ummah to the fact that don't think that the consequences of your deeds is only there. But it starts here already. And the effects of it you will feel here in this world before we get there. There are many terrible consequences of bad deeds and sin, gунاह, ma'asiyat, sin, terrible consequences of that in this world already. And the people who lead that life, they are witness to the consequences themselves. Nobody has to go and explain and tell them what happens. They experience all that themselves. So may Allah Ta'ala save us and protect us from a life of ma'asiyat and sin and transgression. Because the consequences of that is already very, very miserable. It makes a person's life on earth miserable. Ma'ishatan Dankaa, another translation of that could be miserable life. You will have a miserable life in this world. Allah save us. Dunya must also be nice and akhirat must also be nice. Rabbana atina fil akhirati hasana. Is that the ayat? No. What is the ayat? Rabbana atina fil dunya hasana. First, fil dunya hasana. We want hasana in dunya. We don't say Rabbana atina fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. We bypass dunya, that never mind whatever. No, we want in this dunya already. We want hasana. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana. In this dunya give us hasana. Wa fil akhirati hasana. In akhirat also we want hasana. Now what is the hasana of dunya and hasana of akhirat? That is a separate topic and subject. I'm not sure, maybe once we discussed it also. How Allama Alusi Baghdadi, the great Mufassir and Sufi of his time, and Alim and Mufti of his time, and Mufassir of his time, Allama Alusi Rahmatullah alayhi in Ruhul Ma'ani, the tafsir of the Quran Sharif, has explained 9 tafsirs of Rabbana Atina fi dunya hasan. What is hasana in this dunya? 9 things is hasana in this dunya. But that we may have discussed already on some occasion as far as I recall. So, the consequences are there. Hazrat Hakim al-Ummat wrote the book, Jazaul Amal, in which he speaks about the consequences, especially the consequences of ma'asiyat, sin and gунاह. It's experienced in this world. There are many terrible consequences. One of the worst consequences of gунاह and ma'asiyat in the life of this world is that a person will become distant away from Allah Rabbul Izzat. He will become further away, he will go further and further away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all those things that are associated, or those are the things that are connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He'll become far from all those things. For example, he will become distant from the masjid. He won't get tawfiq of setting foot in the masjid. Because he's distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so how is he going to come to the house of Allah? If you are distant from some person who becomes your enemy, and you don't want to be anywhere near him or close to him, you're going to go to his house? Will you ever visit his house? You're not going to go to his house. So how is that person going to have the courage to come and set foot in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This explains the reason why so many people in the ummat have great difficulty setting foot in the masjid and coming into the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they have become distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You become distant from all those things associated with Allah ta'ala. The Kalamullah, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Zikrullah, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Baytullah, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How we find that people got money, unlimited. Plenty of wealth. But years have gone past, they haven't even performed Hajj. Or if they performed Hajj, years have gone past, they haven't gone even for Umrah. They hardly go, they don't have any desire or inclination to go and visit the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All that money is of no benefit. It's just a matter of picking up the phone and making 1-2 calls, and passport, visa, everything will be there. Packages, all will be there. They got enough money to buy 10 packages and go 10 times in every year. But they are distant from Allah. So they are distant from Baytullah. They are distant from Kalamullah. They are distant from the Masjid of Allah. They are distant from Zikrullah. To the extent that a person starts to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way that as if he dislikes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That uncomfort comes into him, that discomfort comes into him when Allah's name is taken. In the masjid, if he comes to, if somebody forces him and brings him and tells him, "Bhai, it's Jummah, come read your..." He's like a bird in a cage, just waiting when the namaz can be over and he can move from the masjid and go away quickly. But all this is the result of sin that made him distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The sin and life of transgression, we don't realize it sometimes. We don't even realize. It doesn't happen overnight. But it happens slowly over a period of time, that a person slowly becomes distant until he becomes so distant that he doesn't even realize that I've drifted so far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, we should realize the consequences of gунاह and sin are very drastic. many consequences. Amongst the consequences of guna and sin is also that a person's life becomes very difficult in this world. Whatever, he can't get his work done. Whatever he sets out to accomplish, he can't accomplish that. He finds his tasks very difficult. He's battling to cope. He's exhausted, he's tired. One is a physical condition, a person gets tired and so on. Illness, that is something that's natural. But here, it's like a battle, it's like a struggle, just to get through every day. And half his work is not even completed. The tasks are not even fulfilled. And he's constantly in a state of agitation and worry. This is all the repercussion of that guna and sin. One of the serious repercussion of guna and sin is also this, that because he was disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his maker, his creator, his sustainer, his nourisher, his provider, his cherisher. So Allah ta'ala then turns the Makhluq against him. To such an extent that not even his wife turns against him. His wife too becomes disobedient to him. As a result of his disobedience to Allah ta'ala, wife will turn on him. His own children will turn on him. His children will turn against him. His servants will turn against him. In those days when they had animals, even his animal will turn against him. In these days we have a car. That car will also not perform properly. Battery will go flat and he'll get stuck in the middle of the road and this and that and whatever. Don't now next time you see somebody got stuck somewhere or whatever, say, oh yeah, this is not. It doesn't mean that once in a while a person's car is going to break down. Everybody's car breaks down somewhere along the line. But what it means is that all the time he's having trouble with everything. So that is the repercussion. That sin of his and that ma'asiyat of his is rebounding on him in the form of what the Makhluq is doing to him. Because this is how he is conducting himself against his benefactor and creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those people who are his underlings and those people who are his subordinates, they become disobedient to him also. People say, I don't know what to do. Look at how my wife is acting. Look at how my children are acting. So now you have to take stock and we have to see how are we acting in the first place when it comes to our ta'alluq and relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we must complain about how others are behaving towards us. But if our relationship with Allah ta'ala is strained by sin and transgression, then don't expect those who are our subordinates to become obedient and be good to us. Because it's going to rebound. It's going to hit us back. Those people who didn't treat their parents nicely and properly in this world, their children are going to trouble them. This is a reaction. This is how it happens in this world. So this is one of the dire consequences of guna and sin. That the subordinates of a person also become highly disobedient to him and they become rebellious to him. His wife doesn't listen to anything he says. She does what she feels like doing. His children become disobedient. They become rebellious. And now he's in such a state of agitation. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من امرأة تشيبني قبل المشيب وأعوذ بك من ولد يكون علي وبال. Oh Allah, don't let me be subject to a woman who will make me grey before my time, and children who will become an azab and wabal for me in this world. Now you see again, clarification all the time. Very important clarification. That if you see somebody turning grey, don't start making conclusions that this poor fellow bichara, he must be having a hell of a lot of problems at home with his wife. So he's gone grey well before his time. So it's because of marital problems. That's not the case all the time. Sometimes it's just a natural condition that some people become grey early, quick, and some people take long. So it's not a general rule that we apply and look at other people to apply it. We look at ourselves. But this is the dua of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that, oh Allah, don't let me be married to a woman that will make me old before my time. Now you see this person, he was young, healthy, energetic, fit, full of, brimming with life and zest. But now you see he's bent over, his back is bending, and all spirits are fallen, and he's just dragging himself along in life. And you wonder what happened to this poor fellow. Then you realize that he's got so much of domestic problems, and his wife is making life so much of such hell for him, that now his whole vigor of life is already gone too. And his children are making it even worse for him. So, these are the consequences of sin and gунاह. One of the consequences of gунاह and sin is also that a person will have financial difficulties. Barakat is gone from his rizq. Barakat is gone from his life. Barakat is gone from his sustenance. Barakat is gone from his business. Barakat is gone from the home. Barakat is taken away. Again, clarification. Don't generalize now. You see somebody in financial problem, yeah, must be. He's doing this or that or the other. But it's about the barakat being taken away. Sometimes a person is earning very well. Our Ustad mentioned, he was here 2 weeks ago, that there was a person who was earning 110,000 rupees. And yet, by the middle of the month, he was broke. Another person is earning less than 10,000, 7,000, 8,000. But he still has some savings end of the month. What is that now? That is the difference between having barakat and the absence of barakat. So the barakat is taken away. A person may be earning a lot, but there's no savings. It's not even enough to make him fulfill the basic needs or his whatever needs he has. He's always running short. He's taking loans and so on. So many people today, you see what they're earning. 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. Before the middle of the month, they broke. Broke. Why? How? It's just been eaten up by this and that expense and this policy and that policy, and before you know, they're already in the red. The month is not even gone past half. And they're in the reserve tank and going down past them. What is happening? Barakat is taken away. Risk becomes constrained, constricted. Person is always looking for money, is always looking for things, doesn't have enough of it. So this is when barakat is taken away because of ma'asiyat and sin. Then we find that the repercussion of that gунاہ and sin is also such that the sinner is enveloped in a darkness. All around him is darkness. His heart becomes darkened. That black spots form on his heart. His heart is blackened. And that blackness then spreads in the sense that his heart is gone blackened. Even his eyes, there's darkness in his eyes. There's darkness in his face. It's not about fairness of complexion, but it is about the lack of lustre and noor. There is a thing that is called noor, effulgence, light. A person can be a Negro, Habshi, he can be an African person of dark complexion, but he can have noor on his face. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala, Allahu Akbar. What light and noor there was on his face. And Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab, Abu Lahab was called Abu Lahab because he was so fair in complexion. Very, very fair in complexion. But zulmat, darkness. It was darkness. Zulmat. It's not about complexion and the color of the skin, but it is about the presence of light and effulgence and noor, or the absence of that light and effulgence and noor. So this is actually what happens, that when a person commits a lot of ma'asiyat, guna and sin, then that light is also removed from his heart. Light is removed from his face, from his eyes, and he is in darkness, and he gives off a darkness that when you look at him, you sense there's something about this person. There's like a darkness about that person. Hazrat Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to see certain people and used to say, what is wrong with these people? We can see zina dripping from their eyes. What he meant by that they've been casting lustful glances all the time. Those lustful glances is causing darkness to emanate from their eyes. Hazrat Usman could see that darkness. Say, Ma balu aqwamin yatarashshahu zina min ayunihim. What is wrong with some people when they sit here, you can see zina dripping from their eyes. Because they committed the zina of the eye. Zina al-ayni an-nazru. Allah Rabbul Izzat save us and protect us from that. We find, my dear friends, that guna and sin also deprives a person from knowledge of Deen, understanding of Deen. A person is deprived of the proper understanding of Deen. He doesn't have the proper knowledge of Deen. He may have read a lot of kitabs, but he lacks in basic understanding of Deen. You might find a person, hasn't read many kitabs. He hasn't gone to a lot of formal studies. But subhanallah, Allah Ta'ala gives him a wonderful understanding of Deen. Good understanding of Deen. He understands Deen well. Anything is explained, he knows this is right, this is wrong. He can make out the difference. That is because of the light of obedience and the darkness of disobedience, even after he's learned things and acquired knowledge, but that understanding of Deen is taken away from him. And the judgment, making correct judgments in his life, all the time he's making bad decisions, wrong decisions. It's causing him problems upon problems. As for that person who has got the light of Allah's obedience in him, in his heart, Allah Ta'ala guides him also. Do this, do that, take this decision, take that decision. Every step of the way, he's taking right decisions and he's going. Otherwise, he's making misjudgments and bad decisions every step of the way. His life becomes complicated, like in knots, getting tied up in knots and knots and knots. Life becomes complicated for him. So this is all the outcome and the result of guna and ma'asiyat. And then when a person carries on committing guna and sin, a time comes when he becomes so accustomed to and so, absorbed in that guna and sin that he doesn't even realize I'm committing guna and sin. Realization is taken away from him. And the detestation of guna and sin also goes away. And then he reaches a certain point, because of committing guna and sin all the time, that the ability to make Taubah is also snatched away, taken away from him. Now we find that this person, the guilt is gone. There's no shame in him anymore. The ability to make Taubah is gone from him. And he actually becomes despondent and despairs from the mercy of Allah. And he says, now it's no use making Taubah. I committed enough guna already. What is the point? Where am I going to be forgiven? I made so much of sin. It means carry on. And one sin attracts another sin. Every sin he commits, he'll be attracted to another sin. and another sin. It's like a magnet. One draws the other. Just like one good deed will draw another good deed, like that one sin will take him to another sin. And then what happens eventually? And his life goes, and he comes to the end of his life, and the worst thing that can happen to a person who commits sin all his life is that Allah Ta'ala deprives him from reading the Kalimah at the time of maut. The people are sitting around him and telling him, read your Kalimah. Read La ilaha illallah. Making talqeen, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. The Kalimah is not coming on his lips. He's talking everything else. Every other word is coming on his lips. But the Kalimah La ilaha illallah doesn't come on his lips. And he leaves the world without the reading of the Kalimah La ilaha illallah. That is the ultimate outcome of guna and sin. Especially when a person carries on committing guna and guna and guna and guna, then no Taubah. He's not making Taubah. Then this is going to become the ultimate outcome. And he will have a very, very evil maut. He will have a bad maut. He will have a terrible death. He will have a painful death. And he will have disgrace, humiliation. Even in the life of this world too, his name will be bad in the people's eyes. He will have disgrace, humiliation. People will look down on him. People will not hold him in esteem. He can be a millionaire and billionaire. But still, there won't be izzat. He'll be deprived of izzat and respect because of that life of guna and sin that he's leading. To such an extent, my dear friends, that a person commits guna and sin, he commits guna and sin, that situation comes that even his lifespan is decreased as a result of that. Just as his rozi and risk is decreased because of sin. In al-abda la yuhramu rizqi bi dhanbi yusibuhu, or kama qala alayhi salam. A person is deprived of risk because of guna and sin that he commits, like that his lifespan is also decreased. His lifespan becomes short. Doesn't live a full life, long life of obedience, ita'at, etc. And his life is also a miserable life. And then not only the spiritual side of his life suffers, even physically, guna and sin weakens a person. The heart of a person who commits guna and sin all the time is weakened. And he gets filled with fear, panic. Any little thing gets frightened. Fear overtakes him. Because now the khawf of Allah is gone. So the khawf of Makhluq will enter his heart. Every small sound, oh, there's somebody out here, wants to kill me. Thieves are here, rogues are here. What's going to happen? He's fearful all the time. He lives a fearful, nervous existence. Because they say two fears cannot gather in the heart of any mu'min. The fear of Allah and the fear of the Makhluq. Either he's got the fear of Allah Ta'ala, then the fear of the Makhluq is gone, or otherwise he's got the fear of the Makhluq, then the fear of Allah Ta'ala is gone. And man khaf Allah, khawafahu Allahu minhu kulla shay. The one who fears Allah Ta'ala, Allah will make everything in the creation to fear that person. And one of the things, yes, before I forget, when he becomes distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then not only is he distant from the house of Allah, and Baytullah, and Zikrullah, and Kalamullah, but he also becomes distant from Rijalullah, from the men of Allah. He can't sit in the company of the pious. He can't face a pious person. He doesn't feel like sitting with a pious person. He's like a fish out of water in the company of a pious person. He doesn't have uns and unsiyat and some kind of affinity and liking for the pious. He runs away from pious people. He runs away from good people, virtuous people, and he feels comfortable in the company of riff-raff elements. He was happy in their company, sitting with them. But sit with the pious, he can't. He doesn't have courage to come near the pious people. He wants to run away from them. So he's deprived of the sohbat and company of Ahlullah. He gets distance. When he's distance from Allah, he gets distance from Baytullah, Kitabullah, Rijalullah, Ahlullah, Kalamullah, Zikrullah. Anything that is associated with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes distance from that. He's distance from Ahlullah, from the people of Allah. Even if he comes in the presence of a pious person, it is like those two ends of a magnet that repel one another. He feels repulsed. He can't sit long. He's like sitting on tenterhooks. He just wants to get up and run away. He can't look the Ahlullah in the face. That fear grips him and overtakes him. And the fear of Makhluq and creation overwhelms him so much that he fears for every little thing, every little noise he hears. He's gripped with fear. Every phone call comes, he's gripped with fear. Maybe some mafia are behind me, some gangsters are after me, some criminals are after me, somebody is out to get me. So his life is gripped with fear, tension, nervousness, all these things. And yes, one of the greatest harms of guna and masiyat is he starts hating maut. And he fears maut. He detests maut. He dislikes maut. He doesn't want to hear about maut. He can't even go for janazah of somebody because he's so scared. He doesn't go Qabristan too because he's afraid of going to Qabristan. He fears death, and even the mentioning of death, and the remembrance of death, or anything associated with death, he runs far from those things, because the fear of maut, and the hatred and dislike of maut enters him. Because he knows that if he's going to die, what's going to be the consequences? So therefore, my dear friends, Allah Rabbul Izzat save us and protect us from a life of ma'asiyat and sin, disobedience. Like I mentioned in the beginning, that in the beginning it starts off little, you don't realize it. But over a period of time, as guna upon guna piles upon one another, then a person, all these consequences start, until eventually it reaches that phase that Allah forbid, death also comes without the kalimah. And even worse than that, death without iman. Iman is snatched and taken away from that person at the time of death. And he leaves this world without iman. Allahumma fazna. Allahumma fazna. May Allah save us, protect us all from such a terrible outcome. So therefore, we should realize that guna and sin is not only that result of it in the akhirah, in the form of severe azab and punishment and humiliation and disgrace. Allah save us, that is there. But even in the life of this world, the consequences. And just as there are consequences of the bad actions and deeds that a person does in this world, there are also good consequences of good deeds. All what we mention now about sin, the direct opposite of that happens when a person does good deeds. One good deed after other good deed. One good deed after the next good deed. So many benefits he gets in this world. Barakah, rizq, and sustenance, and provisions, and izzat, and honor, and dignity, and respect, and fearlessness for every creation. Looking forward to death, and being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being close to the men of Allah, the environments of the Musjid, the Baytullah, the Kitabullah, the Zikrullah, the Kalamullah. All these things he finds like a fish swimming in the deep oceans. Like that he enjoys himself in all these environments. And he has barakat in everything, good health, prosperity, his wife is obedient, his children are the coolness of his eyes. His work is easy for him. Everything gets accomplished. He has a smooth life. Like you say, smooth sailing. There's a sailing, smooth sailing through life. One obstacle after the other is removed. Yes, Allah Ta'ala tests those awliya and pious servants of His through different tests. They go through little tests too, in between. Little tests they are put through to increase their sabr, to forgive whatever shortcomings and sins there are, to raise their darajat. These things happen, they will be there. But overall, the picture of the life of that person, subhanallah, Hayaatan Tayyibah, in one word. Beautiful, enjoyable life. He is sukoon in his heart, he himself is at ease and tranquility. Everything around him, there's noor on his face, there's noor in his heart, noor in his eyes. People take to him, people love him, people like him. There's muhabbat, there's closeness, etc. Whereas the guna and ma'asiyat is a thing that also repulses people. People don't like to be near gunagar. They feel uncomfortable, just as he feels uncomfortable with pious people feel uncomfortable with him. And they say, when this fellow will go away from here? Because they don't feel happy to be around such a person. That zulmat and darkness weighs on their own hearts. Hazrat Maulana Thanvi Rahmatullah alayhi, Allahu Akbar, these Ahlullah, they were embodiments of noor and nuraniyat. Every way there was noor and nuraniyat. In their hearts, in their minds, in their eyes, everywhere. Hazrat picked up the kitab of one author. This man was a very, very prolific author, very well renowned author. Writing books upon books. His books took the world by storm. Writing wonderful kitabs. This was even in the early days of this author's life, before he deviated and started writing many, many bad things. I won't mention the name of the person. In early years when he was writing all those books and he was gaining so much of acclaim and credit and publicity for all the wonderful books he was writing, when Hazrat Hakim al-Ummat picked up the kitab of this person, he didn't even know who he was. He just heard, yes, this man is writing. He read that thing. 1-2 pages, he said, is kitab ke andar se zulmat nazar aa rahi hai. I see darkness in the writing of this author. Put this kitab away. They perceived darkness in the writing of the author. Because there was darkness in the heart of the writer. That darkness permeated the pages of that book that he wrote. And on the contrary, when you read the books of Ahlullah, nuraniyat is permeating it permeates every page of their books, and that nuraniyat you will feel in your heart also. Allah Ta'ala protect us and save us from a life of ma'asiyat and guna, and give us a life of itaat and obedience. And give us tawfiq to make plenty of tawbah and istighfar and repent for whatever guna and ma'asiyat we may have committed quickly, swiftly, so that we can start enjoying the unlimited bounties and benefits of itaat in the life of this world, as well as in the akhirat, and we can be safeguarded from the miseries of ma'asiyat in this world, and the severe azab and punishment of it in the akhirat. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa ala Muhammad wa ala Sayyidina wa ala Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasanata wa qina adhaban nar. Allahumma arhamna bi tarkil ma'asi. Allahumma arhamna bi tarkil ma'asi. Allahumma arhamna bi tarkil ma'asi. Abadan ma abqaytana. أبدا ما أبقيتنا أبدا ما أبقيتنا اللهم لا تشقنا بمعصيتك اللهم لا تشقنا بمعصيتك اللهم لا تشقنا بمعصيتك اللهم يا مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا على طاعتك اللهم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله على النبي الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمته